Asalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, guys. Welcome to our first episode of Hadith Hadith. I hope you can hear me. Naam, barakallahu fikum. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the first episode of Hadith Hadith. Now, in our last video, lots of people complained that my voice wasn't that audible. So that's why I'm trying to, lower my voice. And I hope we, learn more from this episode, inshallah. Now, our hadith for today is going to be the first hadith of the book of An-Nawawi collection, that is the 40 hadith of An-Nawawi. So it happens to be the first hadith there. So written by Imam An-Nawawi. An Amir al-Mu'minin Abi Hafs Umar bin Khattab radiyallahu anhu قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول إنما الأعمال بالنيات وإنما لكل امرئ ما نوى فمن كانت هجرته إلى الله ورسوله فهجرته إلى الله ورسوله ومن كانت هجرته للدنيا يصيبها أو امرأة ينكحها فهجرته إلى ما هاجر إليه رواه بخاري ومسلم.
It was narrated on the authority of Amirul Mu'minin Abu Hafs Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, who said, I heard the Messenger of Allah say, actions are judged by motives, that is niyyah, so each man will have what he intended. Thus, he whose migration, hijrah, was to Allah and His Messenger, his migration is to Allah and His Messenger. But he whose migration was for some worldly thing he might gain, or for a wife he might marry, his migration is to that for which he migrated. Bukhari and Muslim.
Now, going to the explanation of the hadith. The hadith was actually narrated by Amir al-Mu'minin Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu. Now, who is Umar bin Khattab? Umar happens to be the second Khalifa after the death of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he happens to be the second Khalifa after Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, and he spent 10 years as the Khalifa. That is, 10 years being the Amir of the Muslims. And on the 10th year, he was actually killed by a Persian slave. He was killed by a Persian slave named Abu Lu'lu. Now, Umar also happens to be one of the most powerful and most influential Muslim Caliphs in history. And he was also laqabed Al-Faruq, that is, one who distinguished between what is right and what is wrong, due to his justful nature and piety. Now, moving to the source of this hadith. This hadith was actually narrated after the hijrah of the Prophet and his companion from Mecca to Medina, due to the fact that they have some difficulties in living in Mecca. So they had to move from Mecca to Medina. So after their migration, there will be lots of people that will migrate with them, that all in the name of being a Muslim. So after that, there was a man that also migrated from Mecca to Medina, but he didn't actually migrate for the sake of Allah and His Prophet. He actually migrated because of a lady that he wanted to marry. So that was the actual reason why he migrated. So the Prophet was not like, he who migrates for the sake of Allah and His Prophet, then his migration will surely be for Allah and His Prophet. And he whose migration is for any other thing, like a worldly thing, or for a lady that he wants to marry, then his hijrah will be for that. And Imam Shafi'i also said this hadith is about 1/3 of the whole knowledge of Islam, related to 70 topics of fiqh. Imam Ahmad also said Islam is based on 3 fundamentals, and all are among the 40 hadith. Hadith 1, which happens to be the hadith stated above. Then hadith 2, which happens to be the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha, where she said anything that is an innovation to this deen then shall be returned back to the innovator. And hadith 6 of Nu'man bin Bashir radiallahu anhu, where he said all lawful things are evident. This hadith are also seen as the 3 criteria that helps Muslim evaluate and judge what they do and say as an ibadah in their daily life. Hadith 1, to evaluate and judge our internal actions. Hadith 5, to evaluate and judge our external actions. While Hadith 6, to evaluate and judge our dealings, that is our mu'amalat, our interactions between people. Now, niyyah has 2 meanings. The first one is the intention before an ibadah, e.g., before you pray, the intention you have before you pray. While the second one is the willingness, that is the willingness you have to pray. And the second meaning of niyyah, which happens to be willingness, is what is actually meant in this hadith. Moving on to the lessons we can get from this hadith. There are lots of lessons that we can get from this hadith, but we are just going to mention few of them. Now, the first one is that innamal a'mal binniyat, that is, all actions are judged based on the intention of the doer. So anything we do will be judged based on the intention we had before doing the thing. Niyyah is not something that is zahir. It's not something that you can see. It's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that knows all our intentions. So we shouldn't be judgmental. We shouldn't be judging people that, okay, this man is not actually doing this thing for the sake of Allah and His Prophet. Subhanallah, it is actually a big sin in the sight of Allah to say, okay, this man is actually doing this thing for people to see. He's not actually doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who told you? He might actually be doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you not knowing. So it is very wrong to be judgmental. And now I'm going to the next one, which is al-ikhlas, which is very important. Al-ikhlas, which meaning sincerity. We should be sincere towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anything we do, we should do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hatta wearing our clothes, I shouldn't wear my clothes so as to disturb Sister Ruqayya for her picking brother Abdullah instead of me. It is very wrong. Who told you, brother Abdullah might even be better than you inside of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So we shouldn't do anything except for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salah, we shouldn't pray because that is going to be around today. So let me just pray, because he's going to ask me that have I prayed? Then if I tell you I haven't prayed, then you will be like, you will be mad at me. Is it your dad that is going to give you a hajj? No, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that will reward us. May Allah reward us abundantly. Going to the next one. We shouldn't do anything that is against the Sharia of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And what's the Sharia of the Prophet? The Sharia of the Prophet is the Kitab and the Sunnah. And some people are like, whenever it comes to the Quran, they are ready to listen. But whenever it comes to the Hadith of the Prophet or the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they will turn a deaf ear towards you. They will turn the deaf ear towards you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "Inna nazzalna al-Qur'ana wa mithlahu ma'ahu." Both Sunnah and the Kitab, they go hand in hand. The Sunnah is here to explain what is revealed to you, which is actually the Quran. Anything we do, we should do it with accordance of the Sharia and not with self-desires. Now, Imam Al-Harawi said there are 7 types of self-desires. To seek the praises of others, to avoid being blamed by others, to seek the glorification of others, to seek the wealth, money of others, to seek the services or love of others, to seek the help of others for oneself. So may Allah guide us. Brings us to the end of the first episode of Hadith Hadith. I hope you all enjoyed it. See you in our next video. Asalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Maybe she would admire me after wearing this clothes, so she wouldn't do anything for the sake of anybody except Allah. Or she would say, okay, I'm going to read the Quran right now because there is actually a brother that is here. So you just want him to, feel your voice, that you actually have the salt to read Quran.